This is Jeff Dawson, Amazon author of Love's True Second Chance, Why Did Everything Happen, Occupation, Gateway Pioche, Destination DC, Target Berlin, and 12 other works. I'm sure many of you saw in the news where a soccer team in Tulsa is refusing to sing the Star Spangled Banner as the anthem of the United States. They want to sing America the Beautiful. I also want you to remind you that they are playing at a park in Tulsa called Veterans Park. The argument, and we heard this during Kaepernick's protest, about verse 3. Well, I am going to read you the poem that Francis Scott Key wrote to honor the battle at Fort Henry. This is a poem. So you have to listen to all the words and take into consideration that he was a prisoner of the British and was reporting the events to the prisoners below decks of what he was seeing. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? On the shore, dimly seen through the mists of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silence reposes. What is that which the breeze o'er the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half conceals, half discloses? Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam, in full glory reflected, now shines in the stream. 'Tis the star-spangled banner, oh long may it wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more? Then blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, thus be it ever, when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. That is the entire poem. So what do you get out of it? Well, like any poem, everything is up for interpretation. This was during the War of 1812, England's second attempt to bring the colonies back under their control so we would be good, subservient, little subjects of the crown. And it almost happened again. Americans at that time weren't interested in war. We'd fought for our freedom. We'd gained it. We were happy. And here come the British again, just itching to take back what they'd lost. I mean, it is kind of hard to accept defeat. I mean, Germany did it twice. That didn't work out too well. England did it twice. That didn't work out too well. But this war did not have a lot of support. People didn't think it would affect them until they burned down the White House. When word spread across the United States that the British had torched the White House to the ground, all hell broke loose. The coffers were dry. There was no money to pay for a war. And our leaders at the time actually thought, okay, we're going to lose this one. Burning down the White House rallied the nation. They might not have been supporters of the government in D.C. They might have been indifferent to the British and their goals, but what they were not indifferent to, nor were they going to stand for, was burning down the White House. That act fueled the nation to galvanize and come against the British once more, and money flowed into the coffers. Now that's just kind of a short history of the war. But when you read this poem, and I suggest you look it up and read it for yourself, and you make the decision of what that third verse is. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more? Their blood was washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hiring and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. So what does that mean? You can take it in any way you want. And remember, the slavery trade was still going on with England. They didn't get rid of that until 1833. This is 1812. So their blood has washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. So what was Key talking about there? To me, if the British win, there is no place for the hireling, which is someone you have hired and is paid a wage, or the slave, from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. There is no safe place for them to hide if Britain wins this war. That is my interpretation of it. Others have interpreted this as that if you're a hireling or a slave, the only thing you have to look to is the gloom of the grave. Well, we all know that we can't escape death. It comes for all of us. Whether we're 105, whether we're 5 months old, whether we're 20 or 30, it comes for us all. So as I said earlier, I'm not going to interpret this for you, but remember the era and the time it was written in. Yes, it is some of the Old English, and the words don't translate sharply like we would want them to today. You know, what is this, 208 years later? So you have to go back and read your history, read the works of those writers back then to understand what their meanings were, what their thought process was, and how things were interpreted. Because those two lines can go either way you want. for me, it's if we lose this war, none of you are safe. Because if England is victorious, they burned down the White House. What other institutions would they have burned down? With slavery still going on, now I believe it was 1803 where they stopped the shipment of slaves coming out of Africa. But it was still a thriving business. And England was benefiting that from our southern states and northern states to a degree. But their agricultural economic boom was definitely in the South. Rice, tobacco, cotton. Those were three big products. And then if you go down into Georgia, they had those really nasty pine trees where you could make kerosene. You tap into them. But this is for your information and your analysis. Read the whole poem. Go back. Read some of the history of the War of 1812. And then, if you still believe that the national anthem should change, then at least you'll have some ammunition in your gun. But to just say, I don't like it because of those sentences, those phrases, then you're not having an intelligent discussion. Something for you to think about.